Linda West with Living Live, and I'm excited today to interview Remy Meraz, founder of Me Tyme Network. But before we get started, I want to share with you guys that I'm going to be speaking at an event. I'm really excited for this because I've done a lot of speaking, but never on a big stage. This one is like on a big stage, and this is big time for me. So I'm really hoping that you can come out with me and attend it with me. Go to attendmsb.com, and that's San Diego, from February 9th to February 11th. There's still plenty of time to get your tickets and come out and watch me speak on the big stage, because I have a great speech I'm working with. I was talking to Les Brown and Greg Reed the other day, and they both actually helped me write my speech. So woo, woo, talk about big time, right? So I'm excited. Let's do it. Let's do it. And then today we're going to talk about startups, and we're going to share Remy's story of like how she started and where she is now, and then what she sees for the future. But before we do that, I want you guys to go and share this video with anybody that you know who is starting up a company, especially if it's a tech company, because we're going to talk about some really interesting things here. I was talking to Remy before we got started, and just like some of the things she has to share is going to be absolutely amazing. So first, Remy is the founder and CEO of Me Tyme Network. It's a new video on demand network featuring self-help experts in snackable video content, cognitively designed. That's a hard word for me to say, cognitively designed to help improve emotional intelligence, health, and wellness. The concept for Me Tyme Network was born from life-altering incidents that Remy encountered while growing up in San Diego and throughout her career, where she witnessed challenges plaguing underserved communities surrounding mental health services. So she credits Oprah and her daughter as the driving forces behind her life mission to remove cost and shame as primary roadblocks for those seeking professional help and access to personal development training. So welcome, Remy. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. So happy.
Let's talk about, so Me Tyme Network, when did the idea come about in the first place? Like, how long ago did it come about?
About 4 years ago. It was about 4 years ago. I think it was really an idea in the making my whole life. As I look at all of my life experiences, I can connect the dots with the good, the bad, the ugly, the personal, and the professional, that they all happened and converged at this time, you know, to make it happen. And if you look at what's happening in the world today, it's obviously more needed. It's needed more than ever before. So, But 4 years ago, and I was actually in a personal development program through Peak Potentials, and I broke through my fear of being an entrepreneur. And in that moment, that I actually broke through the fear, I started bawling like the ugly cry, you know. It was like this huge release of realizing that I wanted to, you know, start my own company and just build a company. And I didn't know what it was, but the very next day, the whole idea and concept for Me Tyme came to me, literally overnight. So it was almost like I had to break through the fear and let it go so that I can make room in my brain to birth the idea. And it's been a work in progress ever since, but now like really taking off.
That's fantastic, because that's so true, right? We have blocks, and these blocks literally do block us from progressing, from us thinking. And so once you released that huge block that you had, like you said, you like had ugly crying, right? Like,
it was something like I lost 20 pounds. Like, oh my God. Like I felt so much lighter after breaking literally, and it was a purge. Those tears was like all the years of being afraid to do it, because I'd always been entrepreneurial, and I had, I would say, 2 other great ideas that are now like multi-gazillion dollar things happening in the world, that I said the next idea I get, I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. And so that was it.
That's so fantastic. And then it happened the next day. That's really great. So I have a question. So this stuff came to you right the next day, and then you acted on it immediately, or what? Like, what was your next step?
No, there was, I would say the idea, the concept came for me, but it was probably another 1.5 years of, you know, I was in this program, like I said, so I was going through this program, and every class I went to, like, it helped shape and form it and what it would be. And then we did, we actually launched it as something else under a different name, and it was called the Maven Experience, because the whole premise was to give people an online experience with Mavens. But then people didn't know what a Maven was. It was, we were trying to do the branding around the me, the M and the E, and Maven and experience. And people kept going, oh, that's so selfish if I do that. It was really interesting. And so it wasn't until we actually had our first video product, the Me Tyme Minute, where people would go, oh, I need me time. I don't get enough me time. Just adding the word time in there changed the whole psychology of it. And that's how we shifted to Me Tyme Network. And the platform we are building, so it will be a web and app-based platform, will actually be Me Tyme TV. So Me Tyme Network's the parent company. Think of it like ABC, like a network. And then Me Tyme TV will be the platform. And I'll liken it to like a Hulu or a Netflix, where we want that go-to destination to improve emotional intelligence and mental health and overall, well-being.
That's awesome. So Me actually stands for Maven Experience.
Well, it did originally. Not anymore. Maven Experience is gone.
That is so cool. I love how it morphed into something different, and it morphed kind of on accident, right?
Well, I think the important thing here is that the importance of listening to your audience and to your customers, right? So everything that we do is based on what people are telling us, what they need, what they want, how they feel, how it resonates with them. So that's, definitely one of the big important lessons to share is about listening to your customers. And, I came up with this idea and, it'd be so cool. And Maven Experience, that's a cool word, but it doesn't matter what I think, right? It matters what's going to resonate with people and what they want.
Right. And, Les Brown actually said, let's see, I have it right here. He says, never let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience needs to hear. And that was exactly that, right? You need to actually listen to your audience instead of, being so much in your own head of what you think they need or want. And so that's awesome. I love it. So now that was then about 2.5 years ago, right? Because you had the idea about 4 years ago. About 1.5 years, you bring out the Maven Experience, and then it starts to morph. And then what happens after that?
So what happened after that, so we were originally modeling after some other content creator studios that have had a tremendous amount of success, maker studios that got bought by Disney for like $100 million or $1 billion, something crazy. And so what we were doing was we were asking the experts to shoot the video themselves. So the whole concept of user-generated content, right? So asking the experts to shoot, and that turned out to be a disaster because we were creating more work for you guys, the experts. And, they're already super swamped and busy. And so the experts that we're showcasing in our content, the first 2 programming products that we have are life coaches, therapists, psychologists, motivational speakers, and they're already busy. So, and then the quality control was all over the place. So we were getting videos back that, the lighting, the backgrounds, everybody had a different interpretation of the rules we put out, right? Right. The instructions. And it just didn't work. And so what happened was they started asking, well, why can't you shoot it? And so then we were like, oh, and I used to work in television and it was like, duh, let's do it. So obviously that creates cost for us to become a production studio. But essentially that's what we did to get our first programming products up and running and available for testing. And so once we did that, once we pivoted and we took control of production, then we controlled the timeline, we controlled the quality control. Yeah, we helped with the quality control. And we went into the studio, and then it was just a matter of sourcing the talent, right? And before we could source the talent, what we did was we surveyed HR executives, leaders in companies, and consumers via social media, just from posting blogs and seeing what was trending. And then our experts and what are the top problems that people are experiencing in their life in their respective categories that we're focused on. So we're focused on 8 key categories, and that all came from surveying. So again, listening, polling, talking to people, talking literally, I'm not kidding, probably over 1,000 people, just getting information to see what are those common threads that, of problems that people experience in life. And so that's how we came up with our categories. That's how we sourced our experts from the beginning.
Oh, that's awesome. So now, while you were doing all of this, though, were you working a job? What was your situation as far as that goes?
Some people call me brave, and other people think I'm just nuts. But
I get that too, by the way.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and take both of them, and it's probably a little bit more crazy than anything. So interesting enough, there was a lot going on in my personal life when I started all of this. I was working a full-time job. I had a great 6-figure sales job for a clean tech manufacturing company that was also a startup. Mm-hmm. And I had the master plan in place, right? That I am going to self-fund this business and do it on the side while I work my full-time job. And then when we went public and I had these wealth creation stock options that I was going to vest and cash out, and then, the company would be ready to sustain me and a salary team and all of that. Yeah, well, the universe had a whole different plan in mind. So that company actually went down. It was backed by a venture capitalist, 200 million, and he pulled out, and the whole company, 400 people lost their jobs overnight. And then I also went through a divorce all at the same time. And I decided to move forward because, look, I'm in my mid 40s, and I just felt like that it was now or never, that I had these other great ideas before that I never acted upon. And I did not want to live my life with regrets. Mm-hmm. And I just knew, just seeing what's going on in the world, doing the research, talking to people, everything, that what we were building was needed. It was needed and wanted. And I had a choice to make. And that choice was either go back to work full time or keep going. And a gift from God came in the form of my old roommates from college said, you can come live with us for rent free. And we believe in you. We believe in what you're building, and we want you to stay focused on what you're building.
Wow.
And so literally that was all of 2016. So that's what allowed us, the team, to do what we did and accomplish what we accomplished in that year, because I had, a strong support system, not only to help me heal from the divorce, but also to keep me motivated and focused and going. And so that's what allowed us to get, we produced 200 videos last year, and we tested all of those, on social media platforms, and it got us to where we are now. That arrangement was for a year. And so then we decided to move the company up to LA because it's a better fit for what we're doing. We're on the fringe of tech and entertainment, media, and healthcare. And LA is just a much better fit for us to really take it to the next level. And, now I'll tell you that the struggle is when you're starting a company and you're pre-revenue and you have to get a certain amount of traction before you can get investment money. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I was super naive about that.
Yeah.
This is the crossroads, right? And the challenge that everybody has. And this is where you find out what people are made of and where people quit, and succeed. That you have to live, right? Mm-hmm. You have to live, but you have to build a company. You have to pay your own bills, but you have to pay a company's bills, because there are bills that still need to get paid while you're building this thing and before you start generating revenue, So that's, I would say, the big challenge now. Obviously, we moved up here over the summer, getting settled and, acclimated and whatnot. But it's about, and it's easy to want to go make money because you're sacrificing right now. You're sacrificing your personal life. You're sacrificing lifestyle. I just bought a pair of shoes a few weeks ago. It's the first pair of shoes I bought in over 2 years. There's sacrifice that you have to make, and it just comes down to a choice. But the way I look at it is that it's temporary. It's all temporary, and it's just what has to get done to get to the next level and move
Yeah.
it along, you know?
And you were mentioning how like some people think you're crazy and some think you're brave, and it might be crazy in a way, right? But there's this passion, like you said, like once you made that release, this idea was dropped to you, and it's almost like you have to do it because
it's not it actually isn't a choice for me. It's a I have to thing, and what it is I found my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So I found my purpose in life, and that's where I was saying that, you know, that I can clearly look back and that everything that happened in my life has led me to building this, right? Yep. It's what I was born to do. And those experiences, you know, that I had in the workplace, that I had in my, you know, family life, my personal life, they all happened for a reason. And I would invite people to really, you know, because I meet a lot of people, especially people in their 30s and in their 40s, that have the golden handcuffs on. You know, they have a great job and make a great paycheck, but they're totally unfulfilled and bored.
Yeah.
And people ask, like, how did you do it? And it was figuring out what I was really good at, like what my skills were and what I'm passionate about, and finding a way to marry those two things together. So I was always very passionate about personal development, professional development, therapy, coaching, right? I loved what those things did for me personally, and how I grew and generated success from experiencing it. What I found is a lot of people don't get that opportunity. But that's what it was. It's converging of the passion and the skills and finding a way to create a business out of it and do it a little bit differently than what's being done. It's not we're not reinventing the wheel, right? We're not doing things that are that nobody hasn't done. We're just doing it in a different way and delivering it to people that haven't had it before or looking for it.
And and that's so important to, because I discovered my purpose too. And that's exactly what happened to me, because I had the golden handcuffs. I was 51 years old when I finally realized that my life was not being fulfilled and I was not living whatever my purpose was. I didn't know what my purpose was at that time, but I knew that that was not it, you know? And so, make that leap from corporate and like, I got to, like, what is it? What is it I'm supposed to be doing? And I did the same thing. Like I looked at all my skills and then I looked at all my passions and I was like, how can I morph those together to utilize the skills that I've learned through all these jobs? I've had 49 jobs. So
on that. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy. We'll pop Judy on the screen there. Hello, girlfriend. So it's great because, but once you figure out your purpose, it's really your obligation to live it out. I mean, that's what you're here for. And so once you discover what that is, it really is your obligation, because it's not only to yourself, but to others. It's like your purpose is for something. I believe we all have a purpose, and some of us never discover it, and some of us do and don't do anything with it, and some of us do. And then we're the crazy ones who just keep going forward and saying, this is what I'm doing because I'm supposed to be doing it. And that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. And I would say that the biggest thing I've gotten out of it is emotional freedom. I have emotional freedom because, and someone said, well, what if you fail? Okay, what if I fail? The worst thing that's going to happen is I can go back to a 6-figure corporate job, right? Mm-hmm. I said, but here's the thing. I will live my life with no regrets because I went for it.
Yeah.
I at least tried. And that's all you can do, right? It's really about taking action and getting out of your head and really just taking action. And look, there's tough days. I mean, I can't even tell you. There's some really hard days. There's days where I'm on my knees praying, to God. How am I going to get through this? But He always comes through, and it's always about just finding a solution, and at least doing one thing, even on those tough days. There's been some days where I couldn't get out of bed, going through a divorce while doing this was really, really hard, really. Yeah. But as long as you do at least one thing, and then what happens is that once you start getting results and you start getting momentum, right? It's fuel for the fire. It's like people are throwing logs on the fire. and then burning inside you. And, people are like, how did you get this? How did you do what you did with virtually no money? And, like, it's amazing. And no experience. We had no experience in production. We have no experience in technology. I mean, I built a team. I have team members that have experience in those things, but I'm in a huge learning curve. I didn't know how to be a CEO. Like, I'm learning how to be a CEO, right? Learning how to pitch investors. They're all things I had no idea. And, but what happens is when you accomplish things and you get momentum, that fire like just grows and grows. And, I probably didn't sleep at all last year, but that's part of the sacrifice. But I'll tell you, so many of those sleepless nights were not because I was stressed, but it was because I was in creative mode and I was so excited. I can't sleep.
Exactly.
You can't sleep. You're just so excited,
Tonight. You mentioned the freedom, because really, I actually am working on a course right now that I'm putting out called 7 Keys to Freedom. And I believe the same exact thing, because the freedom is up here, and it's the freedom to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, and where you want. And that's what I truly believe. And once you've discovered your purpose and you're living in your purpose, you are living freedom. I mean, that is like the ultimate.
I can't even just tell you how there's no words to describe it. There's no words, but it's definitely very liberating, and at the end of the day, it's up to you, right? You can count on you to get it done. So but it takes action,
Now I met you through Me Tyme, and I am one of the experts in Me Tyme, which is awesome. Right. And my expertise is overwhelm. That's one of my expertises. And, but then shortly after that, a mutual friend of ours, Infinity, said, Remy, you need to do this video challenge that Linda is putting on. This was last December. This was just a year ago, Remy. Can you believe it? It's only been a year. I know. And so you came in there and you're like, I really don't want to do this, but Infinity says, but now, what have you done since then, though? Because you've done a lot of videos. You've done a lot of pitching in front of venture capitalists. You've done a lot of stuff. What have you done this last year? Share with us.
Yeah, but let me back up a little bit. What people need to understand is that 4 years ago, I was deathly afraid of public speaking.
Okay.
Deathly. And I've always been in sales, and I could do sales pitches in front of in an office situation or in front of a client, right? But I was, part of the thing that helped me was I became president of the Latina Business Women Association. I did that for a couple of years. So I had to do a lot of public speaking. And so I kind of got over that. I mean, I moved along, right? Squashing the fear. But the second part of it was the video part. I just thought it was so weird to talk into a camera, right? And you're staring at yourself. It's just the strangest thing in the whole wide world. And you have to pretend people are watching you, or maybe nobody's watching you, and you just feel like an idiot. And so when she challenged me, I literally was nauseous. I was nauseous about having to do this. But what it did for me, what it did for me was just add to the confidence level of speaking, right? And telling our story and sharing with people. And what that did in now, like that, I can get up and do investor pitches, whether it's in person on a stage or via video, which we did a couple weeks ago. We had to pitch via video. But the bigger thing was that it allowed us to connect with people all over the world. Mm-hmm. And one of the stories I want to share with you about that is, one of the challenges you have is you're behind the scenes and you're building, and you don't know if it's going to work or if it's helping people or not. People are watching the videos. But by doing those GSD videos, we got an email from a guy in Kenya, a Sudanese refugee, who said he came across my GSD videos, and that led him to watching the videos on Me Tyme Network.
Wow.
And he watched all of them. And now, mind you, this is a young man who's like 21 years old. He's lost half his family to war. He lives in a war-torn country. He's a refugee. And he said our videos gave him hope. Wow. And that they he was sitting there writing this email at night. He couldn't sleep because he was excited and he was in creative mode. Like he was trying to think of ideas, like how he could get out of his situation.
Wow.
And he said not only did he feel like they were helping him, but they could help his family, his village, maybe his country. And that was like a drop the mic moment, right? So doing those GSD videos allowed us to share the story and just now have a worldwide audience of people who are interested in rooting. And we're Facebook buddies. He's always sending me motivational messages, and it always comes on the day when I'm down. And he's now going to school. This young man is now going to school in Singapore or somewhere in Asia and going to college. And
that's so awesome.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing. So that's the power of sharing. And right. I mean, that's what that video challenge did for me. So thank you.
And that's great because you had an opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to do it, or to say yes. Right. And you chose yes. Now, if you had chosen no, things would have been differently, but you chose yes, which meant you chose yes, not only for you, but for your audience. And look at what it's done. And that's so amazing. So kudos to you, because I know that I want to go look back at your very first video. And literally, I think it was like, and Finn told me I'm doing this thing and I don't want to do it.
I'm much more comfortable on camera. And it also, I chose to use the platform to share the good, bad, and ugly of startup life, what it takes to raise money. And I've gotten so many messages from other women, like, thank you so much. I'm now starting my own business, or I watched your videos and it helped me through this relationship or this situation at work, so it was just, and I think the other part of it is it allowed me, and I'm sure other people who did it, to really sink into vulnerability and get comfortable with it, because you have to put yourself out there. And here's what I'll tell you is once you learn to put yourself out there, nobody can ever make you feel embarrassed or ashamed of anything, right? Because you're taking control of it, the situation, right? Or whatever it may be. But once you get comfortable just putting yourself out there, you learn to laugh at yourself more and not take yourself so seriously and not get hung up like, oh my God, I looked like this, or I did this, or I made this mistake. Like, you just learn to roll with the punches a lot better.
Yeah, I learned to point out those things. Like if I make a mistake, I just point it out, because instead of trying to hide it, because it's obvious it's there, right? So I just point it out. Or like if my hair is all weird, like, oh yeah, my hair is all jacked up today, whatever. I'm still here.
My dad, one of the things my dad used to watch my GSD videos, and then he'd be commenting as I'm live, like, stop playing with your hair.
I remember that.
So I've actually gotten a little bit better. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's helped me just present myself publicly a lot better.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to talk about the GSD videos or anything, but it was just like your progress. So what you've gone from I don't want to do this really, but I'm going to do it. And then now, it's really amazing because you've made just huge, like you said, confidence. It's really helped my confidence level tremendously. But now you've gotten up and you've pitched, several times. And how have the pitches gone? How do you prepare for a pitch like that? What's the process that you do to prepare for a pitch?
Pitching investors is not easy at all. I've had tons of sales and marketing experience, and I can do sales presentations all day long, but pitching investors is completely different. My background isn't in finance operations, but you learn to have to tell your financial story of how you're going to grow and scale, and people are going to make their money back, right? Mm-hmm. You have to learn who your audience is and really do not just pitch everybody. And I took a great course by Jeff Davids, JD Davids, who really taught us how to go about it strategically and pitch people who are in our space, are interested in what we're doing, are passionate about what we're doing. I met another gentleman recently who was from Silicon Valley, who said, look, you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs, and that's like the sales game, right? You got to have a lot of prospects go into the funnel until you get, a couple that land. And so what I would say the challenge has been for me, having been a successful, career independent woman who, got married later in life, but I put my daughter through college, and and has always been independent and taking care of herself, I have struggled with looking at it like I have to ask a man for money, because it's predominantly men, that middle-aged men that are the investors. And that's something I've had to work on, that I can't look at it like that I have to look at it as just business. But that's my work to do still on that piece of it, right? And and where I've said, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go back to work full time and try to fund this. But it's like, no, like this is just the way the world is. That's why we need more female investors. They shouldn't get involved in organizations like Hera Angels. We need to cultivate more female investors. If more women, there's a lot of that goes to philanthropy, and I think that's fantastic. But if we just took 5% of what we spend in philanthropy and nonprofits and put that towards investing in women-owned businesses, and there's a lot of great stuff happening now with all the sexual harassment stuff, and people getting called out. That's been another big challenge for women. And I've talked about these statistics before, but women entrepreneurs typically get 3 to 5% of venture capital. Minority women of color, get less than 0.5%.
Oh, wow.
Not 1%, less than 0.5%. So the odds are not in our favor. I mean, the odds are really stacked up against us, right? So this is where it's my job as the CEO to do everything I can to learn and how to approach and how to pitch investors. But it's not easy. That's the hardest part of the game, But that's why we moved to LA, because LA has more early stage investors here, more people in our space. So it's just a matter of time. It's just knocking on a lot of doors,
Yeah. And that's a good point there, because if somebody's thinking I think I want to, go for investors, go for angel investors, and then they hear this, they might think, well, gosh, that's going to be a lot of work. Well, yeah, you know what? It is a lot of work, but you have to decide, what do you want? Do you want to make a difference, or do you want to just back down because something's hard? And no, you don't just back down because it's hard. You just keep going and pushing through, and you'll be one of the ones that helps to bring that 0.5% up to the 1%, up to the 2%, up to the 3%. But if you didn't keep going, then that's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really feel a sense of responsibility for that. And that was a big that I had, a lot of advocates work in the small business community. And someone said to me one day, Remy, you have a seat at the table on the other side. You already have a seat at the table on the other side. And I never looked at it that way. And I realized, wow, I had to make a conscious decision to stop doing what I was doing with volunteer work and focus 1000% on building my business and becoming successful and raising money. And then going, hey, you invested in me. Well, guess what? I got 10 more friends just like me, right? And bring people to the other side. Because the problem with small business is people tend to think small, and people don't even know that there's this whole other side where you can, tap into funds. And people tend to go the traditional route of bank loans and all this. But when you're in your first couple of years of business, you can't go get a bank loan, right? And if you're building a tech company, you don't have assets or goods that you can borrow against. I don't have equipment, right? I don't have clothing, or a product. I'm not manufacturing something. And so it's really hard if you're in the tech world to go that route. So the venture angel route the angel venture route is the way to go. I mean, you have to go, right? So I do feel a sense of responsibility to keep going and to help others along. But I have a daughter, and you always want things to be easier for your kids, right? And I look at that as other women as being that extended family.
Yeah, that's true. And then they say, though, when you are encountering difficult times, those are the times you have to push through, because it's on the other side is where the reward is. And if you stop short, then you're not going to have that reward. And like you said, living your life with no regrets. Like my mom had a lot of regrets when she got to the end of her life. And I looked at that and I said, I don't want that. I'm going to make sure I do everything I possibly can to be successful in what I'm doing. And that's what you're doing. Like now you have a situation right now where you've gone back to having a part-time job because things just weren't lining up exactly as you thought they were. But that doesn't mean failure at all. The failure would be if you stopped.
No, and look, that situation where my friends came in, stepped in to be, supportive,
Yeah.
that was a gift, right? That was really a gift. And, I was naive um, in how long things take. Things always take longer than what you expect. And also how much traction we would need to show before we can actually, investors will write a check. We raised some money, friends and family money, but people want to see your first 100 customers, right? They want to see X amount of social media following. They want to see your platform already built. And so where we did go about it smart and strategic by leveraging existing social media platforms to test the content and validate, okay, that's great. So now we're actually in development of Me Tyme TV now. And so we'll have what we call an MVP version. Yay! The minimum viable product in the next couple of weeks. And then we've landed our first corporate beta clients to actually let us test in the workplace now. So we tested on the side. So now we have corporate beta clients. And then we actually got some interest from a hardware manufacturer that said, hey, I think your content on our products would be great. I'm like, what? Like,
Wow.
So that's kind of like, just keeping your eyes and open and being open to new things. Because at first, even when I was talking to him, I was so focused on, no, we got to get to the HR director so that we can go test with the employees, right? And he was throwing out this idea, and I was like, well, I don't know, And then he goes, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be really frank. Like, why wouldn't you want to do this? And it was like, snap out of it, Remy. You know what I mean? So we tend to get super focused, but it's about listening, right? Again, listening and being open to things are going to change and morph and shape, in different ways. You're going to learn things from the failures, that's going to have you take on a whole new direction. And you just got to really be open and flexible to what comes your way.
That really is the key, huh, to being open and flexible to the opportunities, because if you're not open and flexible, then you're not even going to hear the opportunities. They're staring you right in the face. Like that one was like talking right to you and like, hello.
Oh, duh. Yeah. But, the having to work part-time has actually been a blessing, not only because, obviously you have to live and pay your bills, right? But it's also what I found was I was actually approaching burnout, because I was going so hard in the business. And then me being in sales, I'm so used to being out with people and traveling and, entertaining clients and doing all of that stuff. And so my whole team, we're all virtual right now, and we work together a couple days a week. But for the most part, it can be very lonely and isolating, and especially someone like me who's a people person. So having a part-time job has actually been really good for my soul. It's been really, I would say, rejuvenating for me. And also because I'm interacting with the public, or like out and about and with people, I have a focus group every single day where I get to like bounce ideas and find out what people are going through. And, again, it's all feeding what we're doing, right? And as soon as I tell people what we're doing, they just immediately start sharing, their life challenges and wanting, like it, again, reinforcing and validating the need, the need. And so it's been really great. It's hard because I'm very visionary and I operate at 1,000 miles an hour. And so I can already see us in year 5, but the reality hasn't caught up with the reality in my head. But that's okay. So
I know what you mean. Do you want to explain quickly what Me Tyme is and how people can find it? Like I have the website, but you also have YouTube and stuff like that. Do you want to just explain, quickly, like what it is? Because I know it's bite-sized. Let's just explain what it is.
So think of it like Me Tyme TV is going to be like a Netflix or a Hulu, a video on demand streaming, service platform that you'll be able to watch on your phone, hopefully your TV one day, but also your computer. And it will be a subscription model, very, very low cost and affordable, because we're trying to break down the stigma around mental health and, people lack resources, to go, but we're going to have a variety of programming. So right now, what you see on the website are the first video products that we produced, but we're going to have a lot more inspirational stories and some other things that I don't want to talk about too much right now. But just think of it like a wide variety of programming. And we want to be that go-to destination when you're feeling stuck or down, or you need a pick-me-up and motivation. And but it's really focused on helping people self-manage emotional stressors that they experience both in their work life and their personal life. And we keep it short and snackable. So 1 to 2 minute videos, maybe some that'll be a little bit longer in the future, but really so that it's not intrusive in your life. Like if you're stuck in a moment, you could be at work and go take some me time and go watch one of our videos. And not only are you going to get emotional relief, but the advice you're going to get from our experts is going to be really succinct and grounded, that you can go back in and create a different outcome to that difficult situation you may be in.
And that's good because, there's so many like motivational speakers and like all these motivational videos out there, but they're a lot longer, where this is good because it's only a couple minutes, 1 to 2 minutes. And you can take 1 to 2 minutes to just take a break and regroup your mind, like listening to what these experts have to say. So it's extremely valuable and it's fast info, which is good.
So think about like this. If you already go to therapy or work with a coach, this is your continuity in between, right?
Okay.
You can't get to them, right? But for all the people who don't, because they can't afford to, because they've tried it, it didn't work, maybe it wasn't the right person for them, maybe they don't have the time, maybe they don't have insurance, whatever it is, right? Now you get access to the advice that if you were to go work with the person, they're going to give you in person, right? And we're not trying to replace people in the human factor, and we want to lead people to the experts who can help them because they're there and available. But also we're really focused on the diversity factor as well. There's tremendous stigma in multicultural communities around mental health. Mm-hmm. And there's also a lack of multicultural, providers. And so what we want to do is be that destination where we're gonna showcase African American, Latino, Asian experts, right? We're gonna produce stories and content that is relevant to multicultural communities and that people are experiencing in their day-to-day life. Just a perfect example of how we could come into play. So do you remember earlier this year in La Jolla in UTC, a man had lost his job, his girlfriend, and filed for bankruptcy all in the span of 2 weeks. And on a Sunday afternoon, he was at that apartment complex and opened fire at the pool. Now, and he killed one young woman, right, and injured a bunch of other people. Now, here you have a whole community that was traumatized, right, that has PTSD. Not only people experienced, but all of the people who lived in that building and saw the whole thing happen, right?
Right.
And then here you have a gentleman that experienced stressors that we all experience on a regular basis. Someone breaking up with you, losing your job, not being able to find a job, right? He filed a bankruptcy. We all have money challenges, right, at some point in our lives or another.
Right.
All of those stressors converged at one time and he lost it, right? And so now here's someone who didn't know how to get help maybe, or didn't go do it, or whatever that case may be. But then you have this whole other, people who are traumatized by it. And my former roommate works at UCSD in the student psych help services, right? She said the next morning there's a line outside their door because of all the students that lived in that building who now were trying to get an appointment with a therapist because they were traumatized. And she goes, this is so great about what you're building, because if people had your app in between getting an appointment, they could watch that and at least get some emotional relief, right? Or feel safe or whatever they needed, so that's kind of like an example of how we can be in service, to a lot of people in very difficult situations, because they happen every day in life. And the more and more you watch the news, think of all the shootings we've had in the last month. Crazy, right? Yeah,
I've actually stopped watching the news because it just, it just is too depressing for me. And it might be ignorance, but you know what? It's I'm a lot happier because of it. So,
yeah. And that's it. People, people have more stressors than ever, and people just don't know how to cope with problems, and so we want to help people, improve their emotional intelligence, improve their emotional well-being.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic. It's MeTymeNetwork.com. That's the website. And so
right now, so right now people can just follow us and support us that way via social media, and know that Me Tyme TV is coming in 2018. And then they'll be able to.
So on Facebook, it's Me Tyme Network, right?
Follow Me Tyme Network across all social media. Follow me.
Yes. YouTube. Yeah. And then you can go on Instagram and follow her on Instagram. She does Instagram stories. She just did one. I was like, I don't know how to do that.
You get the behind the scenes of my interest.
Exactly. Yeah. So what would be your top, now that because 4 years ago you had the idea to where you are right now. So in that last 4 years, what would be your number one piece of advice to somebody who all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I have this epiphany. This is what my purpose is.
Well, take action. If you get, no, but seriously, when you have that epiphany, then it really is, I feel, your responsibility to yourself, to live your life fully, right? And to follow your dreams. And it really is, come up with a plan and work the plan, but that every day you have to take action and just really do your homework, really do your homework on whatever it is you want to do. Right. I think the big thing, what I'm experiencing is that the highs are high and the lows are low. And that for me now, it's really about managing those highs and lows, and not getting too excited and not getting too down, and really just taking an even keel. It really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Mm-hmm. And so it's a journey, and it's really about enjoying the journey of and getting. There's so many lessons that come, gifts, in the way of people or experiences, and really taking those into account and growing and learning from them.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Is doing your research is really important, and just making sure that you said make a plan and follow it, and don't get too excited.
Yeah, and don't be flexible, right? Because things are going to change all along. But
right.
Yeah, you can't. I think managing the emotions part of it, because it gets easy if you get down to want to quit, and you've got to have a strong support system around you. And of course, watch our videos, because it'll help you.
Yeah, that's true. And, that's a good point there, because you said, take action. So a lot of times what happens is we get really excited about something, and then we get nervous because it's something different. But if you just take action on it and just make it happen, you'll see that it will turn out okay. It's going to turn out okay. Find people who are supported to be around you. Find people who have gone before you and ask them, how did they get there? So maybe you can save some time, some aggravation and money and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah. And that's why I share what I share, and I'm willing to put myself out there, because if I can help anybody save time or money or frustration, then my job is done on that perspective. That's the key of sharing. And it's also important with social media not to get too caught up in other people's stuff, and maybe other companies or startups that you're following. Because I've done that before. I'm like, oh wow, they're moving further along than we are. Why we're way behind? Or you get all caught up. And then I talk to them, and they're like, same struggles, same challenges. And at the end of the day, the social media piece, don't get caught up in that aspect of it. You really have to stay focused on your own journey, and everybody's journey is different. I think I shared before with you before we started, one of the challenges we have is I'm a non-technical founder, and so I'm building a tech company. So I have a great CTO that I brought on board, but we're competing with, a lot of developers who come up with apps, and they go build it themselves, and they do it really quickly because they can, right? And we get all this traction, And you just can't compare your experiences, your learnings, your road. Our business model is very different. We have to go produce a whole library of content, in addition to building an app, in addition to getting customers, right? So everybody's journey is different, and you just have to really stop and take a look at what yours is and enjoy it. Hi, Valerie. How are you? Happy to see you.
Hello, Valerie. See, put Valerie up there. And that's so true because we're all in different stages. And so if you're comparing yourself to somebody who's at a different level and they have totally different experiences, you can't compare yourself to them. You have to compare yourself to where you were yesterday. And then just keep your mind forward on your forward progress. Because once you start comparing yourself to others, then you're going to feel defeated sometimes. And do you want that? No.
And I think that another important thing is to celebrate the wins and the successes, so like I said, because I'm in year 5 in my head and, operate at 1,000 miles an hour, that I'm so used to like, go, do. And it wasn't until somebody said, you produced 200 videos, you went through 3 accelerators, you pitched in 6 contests, and you knew nothing about any of that. And, and I went, oh yeah, we did a lot.
What I started doing a couple of years ago is at the end of each month, I look back at the previous month to give myself kudos for what I have accomplished. Because if you are only forward looking, which is great, you want to keep looking forward, but it's also important for you to know what you have accomplished so that you can pat yourself on the back and say, wow, look what I've done. I mean, this is amazing. I'm going to keep going because I feel so good about what I have done.
Right. And also take a look at what didn't work, right?
Yeah.
So that you can adjust accordingly and move forward more strategically and a little more, smart. And to learn from those mistakes. You want to have mistakes. You want to have failures. I mean, that's where the greatest growth comes from, and that's what we've done so far. So
yeah. Well, failing forward. Well, Remy, I love what you're doing. Again, it's a Me Tyme Network. Let me put that up on the screen there. MeTymeNetwork.com. Go check them out. Go check out Me Tyme Network on all the social media platforms. They're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. I don't know, wherever you guys are, where there's social media, they're there. Go check them out. Really great videos. If there's a particular topic that you want to watch a video about, type it into the search engine and find it because there's all kinds of them. Go watch my videos. Mine are on Overwhelm. So.
Yeah, Overwhelm. Everybody has Overwhelm. And if anybody has a company or they are in HR or knows somebody and they'd be interested in being a beta tester of the platform, we're not charging. We're just looking for companies who would let us test in the workplace. Feel free to reach out directly and and share.
And so should they just go to MeTymeNetwork.com to find out how to reach out to you or reach out to you?
Or just reach out to me direct on Facebook. Just message me. That would be great. Or they can email me at Remy, R-E-M-Y, at MeTymeNetwork.com. Time with a Y.
So R-E-M-Y at, I don't know if I could type it fast enough, MeTymeNetwork.com.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sharing.
Yeah. Remy at Me Tyme. I spelled it right. Okay, good. Yeah, so email her there. If you know anybody in HR that would like to do the beta, go ahead and reach out to Remy and she would love to hook up with you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Remy. I really appreciate you being here. And I'm so glad you did that first video because here you are today, like just doing amazing stuff. I love it. So everybody have a great day and I shall see you later. Bye-bye.